everyone, I'm Ashley with The Panicked Foodie, and today I'm going to show you how to make butter and buttermilk with just a mason jar and heavy whipping cream. To get started, you will need a 2.5 cup capacity mason jar and 1 cup of heavy cream or heavy whipping cream. You can also try doing this with a plastic container such as a Nalgene bottle. I haven't tried that, but it should work just as well. The only important thing is that you have to make sure that you have enough headspace above the heavy cream so that you can shake it. So pour about 1 cup of heavy cream into your container. Make sure the lid is secure, and then you start shaking. This stage will take several minutes to complete, and basically what you're doing in this first stage is changing the heavy cream into whipped cream. As you get closer to the whipped cream stage, you might find that it gets harder to shake, in which case you can switch to a 2-hand shaking. And you'll find out very quickly that this is a good arm workout. Or maybe it's a good arm workout for me because I'm out of shape. And as you approach the whipped cream stage, you'll notice that it gets quieter. The liquid isn't sloshing around as much, obviously, since it's starting to solidify. And also, when you do if you do the 2-hand shake, make sure it's away from your face. I have accidentally hit myself in the face while doing this, and it hurts. See, when I shake it now, you can hardly hear anything. So now let's take the lid off and see where we're at. Woo! We're at the whipped cream stage. So you could stop here if you want and add in some confectioner's sugar and vanilla extract, and you have whipped cream, which you can use on a slice of pie or on fruit or on whatever you want. Now, if your end goal is butter and buttermilk, you have to keep shaking. So put the lid back on, make sure it's secure. And it's at this point where it's starting to get really hard to shake with one hand that I'll switch to 2 hands, and I'll utilize a flipping motion. So first what you do is you shake it with the bottom side down and then rotate it and then shake it again. And so basically what you're doing with this motion is just taking the solid mass and just moving it back and forth across the mason jar. And it helps if you adopt a split stance when you're doing this. And again, you got to be really careful that you're doing this off to the side so you don't hit yourself in the face. And here we're just starting the transition to butter and buttermilk. You can see here that the container is not as completely coated as it was before. As we progress, that coating will start to disappear. Getting closer. We're almost there. And it's at this point that when you do this flipping motion, each time you do it, you can see the whole mass just shifting from side to side. That means you're getting really close. And I can hear some liquid now. And if you look closely inside the container, you can see that we've got both buttermilk and butter starting to form. And so we'll just keep shaking so that we can get the rest of the buttermilk out. And at this point, you can return to your one-handed shake. can see here that you have your lump of butter and then your buttermilk here on the bottom. And that concludes the shaking part of our video. So now all we have to do is drain off the buttermilk and then rinse the buttermilk out of the butter. Okay, so you want to grab a 1 cup measuring cup, and then you just want to drain off your buttermilk. So you'll see here that we got roughly 1/3 of a cup of buttermilk. So what we're going to do is we're going to rinse out the remaining buttermilk from the butter, and we're actually going to strain that off and put that in this measuring cup until you get up to a cup, and then you can actually use this buttermilk in buttermilk pancakes. I have a recipe for buttermilk blueberry pancakes, which are delicious. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our butter into a large bowl. Now this step is actually really important. If you don't rinse off all of the buttermilk, the butter will actually spoil much faster and then you'll have to throw it away. So make sure your tap water is really cold. And then just put a little bit in there and just kind of mash the butter around in it. And you can see that a bunch of buttermilk is coming out of the butter. And then you want to take that measuring cup from before and just pour off the excess. You will have like little chunks of butter in there and stuff, and that's fine. And you want to stop straining it off once you reach a cup of buttermilk, which you're almost there. Perfect. So you can set that aside and put that into a container and store that in the fridge until you use it. So now we actually want to continue rinsing the butter until the wash comes out clear. That's when we'll know that all of the buttermilk has been washed out. And so you can actually just keep the water running for this part while you work the butter with your hand. And you can see it's turned that nice, beautiful yellow color, which you see in the store. And the wash is clear, so we know that we're all done. And I like to give the butter a little bit of a squeeze to get out any remaining liquid. And there you have it, your nice lump of butter. So this is actually about 1/2 cup of butter. You can use it in baking, and you can use it, you know, on your toast or whatever. If you're not going to use it right away, I would recommend freezing it. It does freeze very well. I have used it out of the freezer successfully when using it in baking. And that's pretty much it. So that's how you make a 1/2 cup of butter and 1 cup of buttermilk by using a mason jar and shaking around heavy whipping cream. If you like my recipes and want to get more, click like and subscribe below. Thank you for watching.